Hey man, ever felt like she was addicted to you until she wasn't? That's not chemistry, that's a programmed response. And behind it lies what experts like Geoffrey Miller call the primitive trigger, a hidden seduction trick buried deep in the neuroscience of attraction. This isn't about looking good or saying the right lines. It's about tapping into the dopamine loop that hijacks her brain and keeps you unforgettable. But here's the twist. The same drug that hooks her can also turn you into the addicted one. In this video, you'll learn how to decode the real attraction mechanism behind female interest, and why the most dangerous trick isn't what you think. It's how you respond to her unconscious signals. Ignore this, and you'll keep chasing validation. Master it, and you'll flip the script. For good. If this message hits you somewhere deep, do me a favor, like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share it with a brother who might be stuck in the same loop. Let's help each other evolve. Let's break down how this emotional addiction is engineered, and why most men fall into it without even knowing. The attraction drug. There's something most men will never hear from a woman's mouth, but her body says it loud. It's not love, not logic, not even lust. It's something far more instinctive, something that pulls her in like gravity without her understanding why. This isn't romance. It's a primitive trigger buried in the part of her brain that doesn't use words. If you've ever seen a woman become obsessed with a man she shouldn't want, you've already witnessed this silent phenomenon. And yet, very few men know how to activate it on purpose. Let's be clear, this isn't about being a nice guy or memorizing pickup lines. The truth is uglier and more powerful. We're talking about the dirtiest seduction trick ever uncovered, because it bypasses her logic and taps into unconscious signals that override reason, the kind that make her body betray her own beliefs, and it works. But here's the kicker. It also rewires your own mind in the process. This trick isn't just about control, it's about exposure to a dangerous dopamine loop that can enslave you too. There's a reason it feels like a high when she looks at you a certain way, touches your arm, or lingers a second too long. That rush, that pull, it's biological, it's chemical. It's been tested in labs and tracked with brain scans. The neuroscience of attraction proves that these reactions aren't random. They follow a pattern. And once you understand that pattern, you can control the dose. The problem? Most men are overdosing without even knowing it. And worse, they're getting addicted to being desired. Imagine attraction as a drug, not poetic, not metaphorical, a literal chemical event inside her brain and yours. Now, imagine if someone discovered the exact formula to trigger that high on command. Would you use it? Because that's exactly what researchers like Geoffrey Miller decoded. A formula. One that weaponizes behavioral decoding, status dynamics, and female psychology. But it's not sold in a bottle. It's encoded in how you show up. How you move, speak, lead. The most powerful drug doesn't need packaging, it just needs the right carrier. Here's where it gets real. The guys who understand this don't chase women, they signal something deeper, something primal. That's the attraction mechanism working under the radar. A blend of masculine polarity and silence. A gaze held half a second too long. A calm that smells like danger. And she feels it before she knows it. It's not fake confidence, it's dominance behavior without the noise. The irony? When you try to explain it, it disappears. Because it isn't about what you say, it's about what your presence transmits. Now let's flip it. Why do most men fail with women they desire the most? Because they leak neediness. They don't even realize they're radiating validation craving. Every compliment, every text, every "did you get home okay?" is a signal of dependence. She doesn't feel drawn to that, she feels responsible for it. And responsibility kills attraction. What you think is kindness is often interpreted as submission. That's why she ghosts. That's why she flirts and then vanishes. You broke the primal response she was waiting to surrender to. Here's the part no one wants to admit. Attraction isn't fair. It's not symmetrical. It's not democratic. It's war, silent, biological, strategic. Welcome to psychological warfare, where your attention is currency and your presence is a weapon. She's not analyzing your haircut or your Spotify playlist. She's reading your unconscious signals, scanning for evolutionary advantages you don't even know you're leaking. This is evolutionary pressure at its finest. And if you're not calibrated, you're sending the wrong data into her system. Attraction isn't chosen, it's triggered. Now, let's go deeper. Ever notice how the men who say the least often get the most? It's not a coincidence, it's compression of energy. A man who masters emotional leverage doesn't need volume. He creates tension by withholding. That tension becomes a mirror where she projects her fantasies. This is the heart of desire manipulation. Not lies, not games, but strategic restraint. You don't seduce by proving value, you seduce by implying depth. Silence, when anchored in confidence, becomes the most seductive sentence she's ever heard. But here's where most guys mess it up. They mimic the surface, they fake the calm, but deep down they're waiting for a reaction. And women feel that. They might not articulate it, but their body knows. That's because their brains have evolved to detect seduction patterns over thousands of years. They're hypersensitive to incongruence. If your energy says alpha, but your actions scream please like me, you just triggered a rejection imprint. And once that happens, the damage is emotional and often irreversible. Let me tell you a quick story. There was this guy, Mark. Quiet, smart, hardworking. But women constantly put him in the friend zone. He was confused. I treat them well. I'm there when they need me. What am I doing wrong? What he didn't see was how his behavior broadcasted validation craving. Every time he helped, complimented, or waited around, he was reinforcing the wrong status dynamics. After learning about alpha mindset and rewiring his habits, Mark started shifting. Not by becoming mean, by becoming grounded. Mark stopped chasing. He started showing up with presence. He limited access to his time. He began training, reading, and speaking less. When a woman tested him, he didn't react. He observed. The moment he stopped seeking approval, something shifted. Women began leaning in. Not because he became someone else, but because he removed the noise. His new energy activated a primitive trigger that had nothing to do with words. It was all about the way he entered a room. That's mental reprogramming in motion. And no, this isn't about becoming cold or manipulative, it's about waking up. Most men live hypnotized by cultural narratives that tell them to overgive, overshare, and overcommit. Fast. But real seduction lives in contrast, in mystery, in stillness. And most importantly, intention. When you understand female psychology, you stop translating her words literally and start interpreting her unconscious signals. You'll realize that what she says she wants often contradicts what truly arouses her. That's not deceit. That's biology doing its job. Think of this like a chessboard. If you move with strategy, you control the tempo. If you move emotionally, you play into her design. The man who understands sexual strategy doesn't rush the game. He creates space. Space breeds curiosity, and curiosity is the gateway drug to female desire. The less predictable you are, the more mentally present she becomes. Why? Because unpredictability mimics evolutionary pressure, the exact environment her instincts evolved in. Safety doesn't stimulate attraction. Challenge does. Now imagine for a second, what if you could shift from reacting to leading, from chasing to attracting, from overthinking to commanding energy with calm precision? That's what the attraction mechanism is about. It's not a trick. It's a framework rooted in neuroscience of attraction. And the moment you stop being emotionally available to everyone, you become a scarce resource. The man who becomes scarce in today's validation economy becomes irresistible. Scarcity isn't arrogance. It's a power filter. But don't mistake scarcity for absence. You're not withdrawing. You're refining access. The difference is critical. When your attention becomes intentional, it becomes valuable. Women respond to what feels earned. The man who's always available gets forgotten. The one who's selectively present gets remembered. That's the tension point, the hidden seduction trick few talk about. It's not about games, it's about awareness. If you radiate need, she retreats. If you radiate calm certainty, she feels pulled in without knowing why. That's the real attraction drug. Here's something wild. The same chemicals activated in romantic obsession mirror those in drug addiction. We're talking literal biological addiction. The same regions in the brain, dopaminergic systems, reward circuitry, are triggered when she feels emotional tension around a man with dominance behavior and mystery. That's the dopamine loop hijacking her logic. But here's the plot twist. If you're unaware of this, you become the addict, addicted to her reaction, addicted to her approval, and eventually addicted to chasing what was never real to begin with. And here's where most men sabotage themselves. They taste a glimpse of power, then get drunk on it. They overuse the signals, lose presence, and slip back into neediness. The cycle begins again. That's why mastering the primitive trigger isn't just about attraction, it's about restraint, about balance, about rewiring your core behavior until this becomes who you are, not just what you do. And now, quick reality check. If this is hitting you hard, if it's connecting dots no one ever showed you before, pause for just a second. Smash that like button, subscribe right now, and share this with someone who needs to wake up. Because the next insight, it's the one most men never recover from when they ignore it. Let's keep going. Let's talk about hypergamy instinct, the hidden software running in the female brain. It doesn't make her evil, it makes her evolved. Women are drawn to the highest value signal in the room, not the loudest voice. When you embody direction, discipline, and unpredictability, you trigger her deep survival filters. That's the sexual strategy encoded through millennia of selection. Most men hate this truth, but the ones who accept it, they rise above the emotional games and learn how to lead the interaction from start to finish. And no, leadership here isn't about barking orders, it's about anchoring the energy. being the calm in her chaos, knowing when to step in, when to hold silence, when to challenge, and when to disappear. This balance activates both attraction and respect. Without it, you're either the passive nice guy she forgets, or the over-aggressive guy she fears. Masculine polarity lives in the middle. It's not soft, it's not aggressive, it's controlled intensity, the kind of presence that lives rent-free in her nervous system. She'll never say it out loud, but every woman tests a man to feel his core. She'll push, provoke, delay, withdraw, and that's not rejection, it's calibration. She's scanning your frame. And if you break, if you flinch, if you beg, that's when the rejection imprint hits. It's instant. She may still smile, still respond. But deep down, the shift has happened. To avoid this, you must become immune to her emotional waves. You don't fight them, you surf them. That's emotional aikido, and that's power. At this point, you're probably realizing something. Seduction isn't about tricks, it's about behavioral decoding. It's pattern recognition, reading between her lines, feeling her pull without needing confirmation. It's subtle, but lethal. The man who sees the signals before they surface always leads the interaction. That's not manipulation, it's mastery. When you stop reacting to her words and start responding to her energy, you're no longer in the game. You've become the game. That's what flips the script forever. One of the biggest misconceptions out there is that attraction is about impressing. Wrong. Attraction is about disrupting patterns. When you show up exactly like every other guy, too agreeable, too responsive, too fast, you become invisible. The man who breaks her rhythm becomes memorable. It could be in the way you pause before answering, or how you don't rush to fill silence. These micro breaks act as psychological warfare, and not because you're attacking, but because you're making her question her own control. That's the edge. Let's get brutally honest. If you're not intentional about your energy, she'll decide what story to attach to you, and you won't like the version she writes. Women are biologically wired to scan for status dynamics and subtle social cues. If your posture, tone, or presence communicate insecurity, neediness, or emotional chaos, she feels it instantly. You don't need to be rich or famous, but you must be stable and rare. That's how primal response gets activated. Stability in the storm is irresistible. Now, let's talk application. Want to stop radiating validation craving? Start by cutting unnecessary communication. Don't text unless there's purpose. Don't explain yourself unless asked. Don't over-apologize. These habits seem small, but they create massive subconscious frames. Also, build silence into your presence. Read The Way of the Superior Man, study Geoffrey Miller's theories on mate signaling, or dive into behavioral psychology lectures from Stanford or Dr. David Buss. These aren't gimmicks, they're maps. And the more you understand the map, the less you chase ghosts. One powerful daily habit: delay gratification. Whether it's texting her back, reacting to a compliment, or answering a challenge, insert pause. That pause gives birth to power. The man who reacts instantly is predictable. The one who delays controls tempo, and tempo is everything in the game of tension. This isn't just seduction, it's mental reprogramming. You're rewiring yourself to lead instead of chase, to observe instead of overthink. It may feel unnatural at first, but soon it becomes your new alpha mindset. Real-world example: next time you're around a woman you find attractive, observe instead of impress. Watch her posture, tone, eye contact. Listen more than you speak. When you do speak, speak slowly, like every word is intentional. Hold her gaze just a second longer than what's comfortable. That tension? That's the attraction mechanism coming alive. You're not performing, you're anchoring. And the more she feels your grounded presence, the more her dopamine loop activates without her fully understanding why. That's how you bypass logic and enter her nervous system. You'll notice something else too. When you stop needing to be liked, people start liking you more. It's weird, but real. Because when you detach from outcomes, your energy changes. You become present. You become rare. Women can feel this shift like heat from a fire. They can't explain it, but they lean in. You've now entered the realm of desire manipulation. Not because you forced anything, but because you removed what was repelling them, your need. And in doing so, you create a vacuum they want to fill. Some guys hear all this and think, so, I just act cold? Not at all. Coldness repels. Presence attracts. The goal is not to be distant, it's to be unshakable, to become the emotional anchor in a world of noise. The man who learns how to hold frame under pressure isn't just desirable, he's unforgettable. That's the seduction pattern she remembers years later, because it's not tied to what you did, it's tied to how she felt around you, and that feeling becomes a reference point no other man matches. Here's something she'll never admit. The men she remembers the most didn't necessarily give her the best dates or the best gifts. They gave her the most powerful inner experience. They triggered emotional intensity, suspense, hunger, reflection. The attraction drug wasn't physical, it was psychological. It made her question herself. And in that uncertainty, desire bloomed. So if you want to be unforgettable, stop trying to be perfect. Instead, learn to become the stimulus that makes her feel something she can't get anywhere else. One of the most powerful tools in your arsenal? Mystery. Not because you're hiding, but because you're choosing what to reveal. Women crave depth, but only when it's earned. Oversharing too early kills tension. The man who carries a little chaos in his stillness is far more attractive than the one who reveals everything up front. This is the essence of emotional leverage. When used with awareness, it becomes art. When used unconsciously, it turns into manipulation. And there's a thin line between the two. Another thing, stop asking, what does she want? And start asking, what does she respond to biologically? Because attraction is not a democratic choice. It's a behavioral decoding system based on survival. She's not looking for perfection. She's looking for signal. The man who commands a room without needing it. The one who stands still while others chase. That stillness speaks louder than compliments, louder than dates, louder than words. That's dominance behavior without aggression. It's not shown, it's felt. When you start mastering this frame, you'll notice a strange shift. Women will start testing you more, not because they're trying to ruin things, but because they want to feel you. They want to know, is he real? Can he hold this? And every test is a doorway. Fail it and you collapse. Pass it and she dives deeper. Understanding this cycle is the heartbeat of psychological warfare and attraction. It's not battle, it's polarity. And polarity keeps things alive. You're not here to become someone else. You're here to remove what's blocking your core signal, the one that already exists beneath the noise. That signal, the combination of masculine polarity, emotional discipline, and calibrated silence, is the true primitive trigger that flips attraction without a word. Once you learn how to live from that space, you don't chase, you don't overthink, you don't explain, you just are. And that are is what she's starving for in a world full of boys performing. The men who master this don't need to convince, they reveal. They don't seduce with scripts, they seduce with energy, with presence, with rare self-control. And what they gain isn't just women, it's clarity, peace, direction. The neuroscience of attraction proves that both brains react, but only one frame leads. If you want to lead, truly lead, you must earn that leadership inside yourself first. Then, and only then, will she follow without resistance. Not because you said the right thing, but because you became undeniable. You've felt it before, haven't you? That invisible pull towards someone who wasn't even trying? That's not magic, that's alignment. And alignment can be built. You now hold the blueprint, the seduction trick most men misuse, the attraction mechanism backed by science, the dopamine loop that rewires both of you. What you do with this isn't about control, it's about liberation, from false strategies, from emotional addiction, from noise. And now that you've seen the code, the only question left is, will you dare to use it? So, what are you going to do with this now? Will you keep handing your power away, chasing attention like it's oxygen? Or will you start playing the game that was always being played around you, but now with awareness, precision, and purpose? What if the way she sees you has nothing to do with what you say, and everything to do with the emotional temperature you project? Here's the challenge. Drop this in the comments right now. No more. Chasing. I lead now. Say it out loud. Own it. Make it yours. And hey, if you watched all the way to this point, thank you. Genuinely. Most won't make it this far, but you did. That already puts you in a different category of men. Now, do your part. Like the video, share it with a friend who's stuck in the same loop, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications, because this journey isn't over, we're just getting started.